everybody. Welcome back to Life and Law. We have our special guest, Johnny Conrad, is here with us. Thank you for joining us, Johnny.
Thanks, Theo. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, do you want to start by just telling a little bit about yourself to the listeners?
Sure. So my name is John Conrad, and I live in Wallingford, Connecticut. I'm sorry. I live in Southington, Connecticut. My kids live in Wallingford, Connecticut. And I met Theo online. She's dealing with kind of the same stuff that we're dealing with. My kids are being taken away from me. Parental alienation textbook. You can look at it. If you had time, we'd all have the same exact story. You just, separate the faces and the names, and it's the same exact thing over and over and over. It's like repeat, like a textbook. So anyway, a little bit about myself. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a father of 3 children. My oldest is 30. My youngest is 7. And my middle child is 14. I haven't talked to her in 3.5 years. I kind of forget sometimes, probably on purpose. That's a source of immense pain for me. We were super close. Daddy's little girl, everything changed. Now I see where everything changed. It changed during our relationship with my ex, who I choose not to speak badly or poorly about, because that's not going to help anything. And to be honest, I'm coming to find out that she's not the enemy. Absolutely not the enemy. And it's something more sinister and something more ugly. It's a system. If I asked myself this quite a bit, actually, about the system, is if I was given the same opportunity, would I take advantage of a system that basically, in her mind, she thinks that I'm a monster. Like, in her mind, she honestly believes it. She somehow, somewhere, there's something that went wrong that my ex believes that I'm a monster. So I have to really think about that. Like, how do I appease that? And it's impossible to appease. And there's a saying that I like to hear, that I like to say and hear, because look out, you don't become a monster slaying monsters. And that's very easy to do, especially when it has something to do with your kids, right? So,
Do you think that she actually truly believes that about you, or that she's just trying to weaponize the court system to get revenge and get back at you?
So, I think a little bit of both. I think maybe in the beginning, not so much. I know that for a fact, because there were some blatant lies that I know that she said in court. That it's like, oh, I know the truth of that. But then I think over time, just like you keep repeating the same things over and over, which she's very good at. She makes these. I have my allegedly, because I need to remind everybody that the way that she speaks, it sounds like I'm already guilty. And especially with like family support, with child support services, it was so weird. It's like, oh yeah, you owe this money, and it's like, hang on, allegedly I owe this. Like, and I would correct them, and they would act like I was wrong, But that's so she says it over and over and over again, and it's the same thing with any lie that takes root, right? It's you repeat. Next thing you know, a certain sect of people are the most worst people in the world, because somebody's repeated a lie. Repeat. It becomes truth in their mind. It's not true. And next thing you know, you've got 1 billion dead people. And that's the same thing here too. There is no difference with this. It's sinister, it's ugly, and I'm 100% convinced that it's a spiritual battle, and it's not. And I don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I wrestle against principalities, those types of things. The people who have this sword that they're wielding, that's the true enemy. Those things that they're saying that's untrue. That type of stuff. That's where my true fight is. And it's very hard, because I'm also flesh and blood, and I want to fight somebody just like everybody else wants to fight somebody from flesh and blood. And that's just not going to win. That's not going to win anything. So, that's not to say that I'm not human and I don't lose my temper sometimes. Actually, a lot. I lose my temper a lot, because I'm very, very frustrated, because I have no voice, it feels. And that's the toughest part.
I agree with that. And I think somebody said one time, civil warfare is fought in the courtroom. And so this is what this is. It's a spiritual war, and you can fight civilly in court, or you could fight physically out in the field. But either way, you're fighting for what you believe in and what you believe is right, and your rights that you're given from the Constitution protects those rights. The Constitution doesn't tell us what our rights are. The Constitution limits what the government can do. So we are allowed to do anything that we want, but the government can only do so much, and they're limited. And that's what people forget. People start to think that the government is in control. They forget they work for us. The power is in the people. And that's why people need to continue to speak up and stop going against each other. And I see so many parents that from Connecticut, from other states, people start going in all these different directions. Oh, it's the fatherhood rights. It's it's a women's state, or, oh, it's only with certain religions or disabilities or this. Like, no, there is mass corruption and fraud happening on such a large scale. And like, we could name some of the names of these key players, Grossman being one of the most, I would say the worst of all in the whole state. And like some of the other ones, it's crazy. And so I know that you recently were told that you have to pay money or you're going to go to jail. Is that true?
Yeah, they're reenacting the debtor's prison here in Meriden, Connecticut. So last Wednesday.
Why don't you tell a little bit, like, if you have that order, I don't know if you want to show it on the screen and tell a little bit, like, why exactly would they do that?
Yeah. I'll probably have to send it to your email. You can throw it in just because of whatever, but we'll take it. I'll talk about it, and if we need to see it. So basically, so the order reads that, first he made the order that I'm to pay a lump sum of money of $1,400 and some change. And let me be clear about something right now. I don't have the ability to pay that. And I've read that a million times, the ability to pay. Because that's the standard that they go off of, like, do you have the ability to pay? And they're thinking, and everybody thinks you don't have the money in the account. But there's no definition anywhere that I found in any statute of that other than ability to pay. And I've been looking for so they either intentionally left that vague or they didn't. And it's because that the judge gets to decide what that means. So that's a big, vague, huge thing. So I don't have the ability to pay because I'm not going to pay it morally. I'm available for my child. This childcare that we have. This childcare is non-essential for her work because she has a father that can take care of her. We have joint legal custody. I'm a fit parent. She's a fit parent. Why the state is involved in our case in that manner is beyond me and against the Constitution of the United States. Not only that, it's against God's word. Now, obviously, God doesn't want us to be divorced because look at what we're going through. Like, this is it. This is the stuff that they talk about when you join two people together. And we were never married, but we're for the senses of having children, we are joined. When you join two things together, you make it one, and you rip it apart, you get bad things like this. So I'm very keenly aware that I'm responsible for the majority of this, but I'm also responsible for my kids, and that's what I'm looking out for. But this order and this magistrate Ferguson, I believe this was pre-orchestrated, and let me tell you why. Walking to the courthouse in Meriden, I don't know if you've been there. You park in the parking structure and you walk through a courtyard, and there's the courthouse. There's the police station. And I thought it was so ironic, and it really pointed in my mind, and it was almost like God giving me like a little like, hey, check this out. Her old attorney, her first attorney that she started with, was right next to me. We were having a conversation, and I actually respect her quite a bit. I won't even repeat her name. You guys can look and see. But I respected her. I thought she did a very good job at actually keeping things fair with my old attorney as well. I wish I could go back to that point. But across the street, and at just before 9 o'clock in the morning, when the court was about to start, was her new attorney from Cohen and Wolf. They're located in Bridgeport. She lives in Milford, I believe. She's standing there, and she's not representing Miss Jacoby in this case because they separated for some reason. I don't know why. They separated for the magistrate hearing. I think I'm starting to find out why they separated for it, but that's for a later date, hopefully. She was walking across the street, and I'm like, this is weird. What is she doing here? There's no way she has a client in Meriden. Not a chance. Went through, couldn't find anything. She clerked in this court in Meriden when she was in law school. And I had raised that issue before because it seemed like she walk into court, they got their own little room that they go and stand at. And I would be like, hey, wait a second, that's equal protection. Where's my little room to go be by myself without having to be around other people? And then I was told, well, no, sir, that's not an equal protection issue. I'm like, well, I mean, she's getting an advantage. Then I said, hey, can I have a computer? They said, no, you're not an attorney. You can't have a computer. And then I filed my disability and I got a computer, but it wasn't because, so they have their own set of rules and they're already on a higher plane. Like I'm playing against like the NFL and I'm in Pop Warner. You got Cohen and Wolf and they even admitted it on the record. They said they have this system that they send back to their office when they're in court. And they will do a bunch of research for them so that they're not having to do the research. And then they will spit it back to them. Because I questioned during a hearing, I said, listen, they're online. They're communicating with somebody right now. They're on the internet. That's not okay. Can we do this? Is that allowed? And they talked, and that's exactly what they said. They said they were going straight back to their office. And then that's what you get with Cohen and Wolf. And I was like, well, I can't do that. Can I, Judge? And like those things, those are a big deal. They could do research right there and find out omeglia, what the heck it means. And that's what I guess kind of won that hearing. But yeah, there's some big issues going on. Absolutely. I agree with you.
All right. So let me ask you something. When you went to court last, this was on, she had filed a motion for contempt.
Correct. Yeah. So she filed a motion for contempt. And this is so we've had a back and forth about childcare, after school program childcare. 2 years ago, I needed some time and there were some trust issues between us, which obviously that's how it is. So sometimes you got to kind of take the bull by the horns and say, okay, I don't want issues here. So I'm going to buy the glove or I'm going to buy a second, dance a costume or just to circumvent the issues. And one was I needed somebody to the way that my job is, I can go places at the last minute and 3-hour window would be awesome to pick up my daughter from school. And I had her a lot more then. This is before all hell broke loose. So I had actually talked to her and said, hey, I need to have this. And she goes, nope, I will be available or my mother will be available. Her mother's in her 80s. And I didn't want to do that. And I didn't think so. I said, listen, our order says that we split aftercare. That's what it says. I want to get it. It's my time. That's kind of the stance I took. And she goes, no, okay, I'm not going to pay it. So she didn't pay for it for a whole entire year. So we're talking $3,000 of aftercare that I paid for. Fast forward, now I only have one child, Saturdays and Sundays. So I have no need for that. Right. Cause I see her 4 days a week, 4 days a month now for a whole year straight. She needs aftercare. So, I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the tool shed, but I pushed back a little bit. And instead of being like cooperative, I said, listen, you went a whole year without paying me for that. I think that's fair. You can pay the whole year here. And I'm available to pick her up so I can have some extra time. And that was held with a no. And in whatever spin she spun on it, it goes in different directions. One is, I don't have to see you that much, so now we won't argue. All those things that having an attorney in a firm that likes to lie and not be honest is that they know all those tricks and they used every single one of them. And
okay, so
you're right.
When you were there, like I was in the magistrate court once in 2022 with my ex before things got really bad. And at this time, both of us were self-represented. And when we went there, we stayed in court for like 8 hours. They literally gave us as much time as we needed. They were like, the judge, he was like, oh, do you have any more evidence? Do you have any more exhibits? And then he would look over to him, sir, do you have any exhibits? Like one by one, super fair, following the procedural rules. And they knew that we didn't have a lawyer. So he was like treating us both equal, right? At the end of the hearing, he put my ex in jail. And the reason why we were there is because I filed for contempt because he did not pay a single penny of child support from December of 2021 until June of 2022. So for 6 months, he paid nothing, not even $1. And he also didn't pay childcare. He paid nothing. So during this time, he was making all this money. He was posting on social media, going to concerts. He was taking professional photo shoots with his new girlfriend. And the photographer said the package was like $4,000. Like, I had so much evidence that he was making and spending a lot of money. And when I went there, showed the judge all the different exhibits. I showed like 80 different exhibits. And he showed some exhibits too. And at the end, the judge said, okay, the standard is that the defendant knew about the order, that it was a valid order. The defendant knew about the order. He had the ability to pay, and he willfully chose not to pay. And so he looked at him and he was like, I want you to pay like $2,500 right now. And he's like, I don't have the money. So they locked him up right then and there, put him in jail and put a purge and said, you have to pay like whatever it was, like $2,200 or whatever to get out. And he's like, I don't have the money. I don't have the money. The next day he was out. How did he get out so fast? He obviously had the money and was able to come up with it so fast, but he wouldn't pay until he was forced to pay. But the reason I bring this up is because like that was probably the only time that we had a hearing where I felt like it was really fair as like a pro se, and they like gave us directions of like how to do it and what. And they're like, you know, are you offering? Do you have any objections? Like versus if you're in Grossman, I'd be like, oh, I want to show my evidence. And she's like, oh, you didn't offer it. And like, they don't even like tell you what's going on. So, but the thing is that we had a full hearing where evidence was shown. We both testified, and the judge at the end was like, do you guys have any more evidence, any more witnesses, anything else? And we both said no. And then he made a decision. So at your last court date in magistrate, did they give you opportunity to show evidence and testify and cross-examine or not? And how did it go?
So there was no cross-examining. There was yes and no, but it was mostly done. Well, not mostly. It was 100%. He treated me as if I was stupid.
Like what did he do?
I filed a whole so number one, it's so confusing, and I've asked every single person at this court about, all right, I'm filing stuff because like I got this thing that Child Support Services, who is supposed to be on my side, which by the way, I just found something out with them too. Because I have that back money that she owes me. They won't go after her for it because I'm the one that's on the other side of this. So they told me that they're not on either side, that they're here for both of us, that they're just going to present it to the court. I'm like, well, then will you go after her for the money that she owes me for that, for the whole $3,000 of daycare from 2 years ago? And they can't do it. They're not allowed to do that. And I was like, wow, that's kind of, I didn't know that. Like, I thought they worked for both of us. They don't.
Well, was there ever an order that you were getting child support paid to you or no?
So if that's child support, if they're going to consider what I'm heading child support, then yes, that would be child support, right?
No.
If it's for work purposes, daycare, that would be considered child care. That's why I'm saying where I'm at is not, he doesn't have any jurisdiction over it.
Well, because like the way that the state does it in Connecticut is if you have a child support order and support enforcement enforces it, and they only go by the dollar amount. So if it says 50% of childcare, you're responsible to then, you are supposed to give those receipts and all that proof to child support enforcement. Or like if you're supposed to reimburse her 50%, does it say you have to reimburse her 50%?
One part of our order and then the other order 33%. It says, yeah.
Okay, but it uses the word like,
I'd have to look at the exact words. I'd have to look at the exact words. Let me, yeah.
Yeah, you could send it to me if you want, but if it uses the word reimburse, then obviously the intention is that she should pay it all and that you are supposed to give her half. And support enforcement
that's
sometimes will be like, yeah, and like sometimes support enforcement will be like, oh, you know, $100 a week in child support and then $50 a week for childcare, and then support enforcement will enforce it. But because yours wasn't like that, a dollar amount, she didn't give them receipts. You didn't file anything. So if you paid it all out of your pocket and you wanted it addressed, you could file a motion, a contempt saying she didn't give you the half and she was responsible for half and bring it up.
April,
And you could even ask for
wouldn't it
credit.
just be easier for us to go? Wouldn't it just be easier for us to go? You know what? Why don't we just call it even? And we'll just drop it from here and we'll move forward and we'll love our kids. Like, that's all I really want.
And like what you were saying before, like before when I had my daughter, I was receiving child support. And like I said, he would never pay it. He only paid when he went to jail. And then after that, they told him he had to pay every week plus arrears regularly. And he never paid anything again. He only paid like when they took it out of his tax return or something. And by the time that I lost custody, when they switched my daughter to go live with him, he owed me between child support and childcare like almost $15,000, and most of that money was from the childcare because I had to pay all the daycare by myself. And he was like, I don't care, I'm not going to pay it. And he was ordered to pay half. So my lawyer was like, oh, just keep paying it so your daughter doesn't get kicked out of school. So I was just swiping my credit card, racking up tens of thousands of dollars in debt and paying for her school, expecting to be able to go to the school, expecting to be able to go to the court and be like, hey, here's my receipts. I even gave it to support enforcement. I showed them proof that he had all this money in the bank. I showed proof of assets, all this stuff. And they're like, oh, well, as long as he pays at least $1 every 6 months, then we can't go after his bank accounts or anything. And if he's self-employed, then we can't take the money out either. And they're like, oh, we'll consider doing a hearing for the contempt on the childcare, but it'll be around this time. And right before that hearing was going to happen, Grossman put in an order ordering the magistrate not to have the hearing. They were going to hold him in contempt and have another hearing, and she ordered them not to, which is talk about going in jurisdiction where you don't have jurisdiction. Under federal law, 4D case has to be in magistrate, and she was forcing it to go back in the family court so she could get her corrupt dealings and do what she had planned to do. And notice how when I said in magistrate they locked him up, but in family court he was handed everything on a silver platter with a history of violence, abuse, a criminal record, a DCF record, and like serious addiction problems and violence and risk-taking behavior that's causing problems. And now my daughter doesn't go to therapy. She doesn't go to church. She doesn't go to Sunday school. When she was living with me, I was her Sunday school teacher. I was taking the kids on vacations. I was taking them on doing every day, every week. We'd go out to dinner 3-4 times a week. We would go out to eat. We would go to the museum here, there, the park. Like so many moms are over here dumping their kids off with grandma. I always would with my kids all the time. I would have to beg just to have a babysitter for an hour to go get an appointment for work. Like I couldn't do anything. And so I only lost my kids. And I lost custody for reporting abuse. And now my daughter's going to be 6 years old, and she was taken from me a few days after she turned 4. So it's like, how the hell did almost 2 years go by? And so it's just crazy to me. And and I was going to say too, because I had that back balance of $15,000 between the childcare and the child support that he owed me. When they ordered, then they said I had to pay him child support. They violated all the federal laws. There was no notice. There was no hearing. She just entered in the orders when there was no hearing, nothing. There was no financial affidavits, no child support guidelines. Nobody even signed off on the paperwork. It was left blank. And then support enforcement was like, oh, well, we're going to enforce it. We're going to enforce it. Then they just kept increasing it. And they doubled the order. Now they're claiming that I owe him $10,000 or something. And I said to them, I'm like, okay, well, he owes me $15,000. And I was like, why can't you guys deduct whatever you say I owe him from what he owes me and just credit me? And they're like, nope, we don't do it like that. We enforce each order independently. And so now they're trying to put me in jail too, saying you have to pay so much thousands of dollars and go be in jail and then get out, and the money's going to go to him. But all the money that he still owes me, they're acting like it doesn't matter. And Grossman,
there I am right here. Hear me out on this. I'm not going to participate in that fraud, because that's what that is. That's fraud. That's complete craziness. You know what? You have the right. You know what? I'm going to willfully not pay that, because that's it gets to a point where it's coming to that, and that's where I'm at here. If they put me in jail out of protest, I will not eat. And that's that. I'm not participating in this lie anymore. This needs major reform, period. And it needs people to say, you know what? No, fine, put me in jail. That's in the best interest of the children. This lady is dependent upon my money that I make. I work hard. I give her child support every week. I used to pay her directly, but then for some reason, she'd get all bent out of shape if one got there a day late because of the mail. And she tried to get me arrested. I mean, she's actually threatened me for arrest after like 2 days of late child support. I'm not kidding. In her mind, she could do that. Well, now I'm like, well, maybe she was right. I mean, I walked into this place for the first time, and they're about to throw me in jail. Maybe she's correct. Which, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would think the same thing. But I'm not going to pay it. They don't understand. Like that's in the best interest of the kid. Like that's what we're doing here, right? I get it. Yeah. It's not about you. It's not about you, court. You know what? I understand that the utility of setting an example against somebody, but that's fine. Set an example with me, and let's see where it goes. Let's see where it goes. I'm not going to eat. I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran. Never been arrested. Nothing. I love my kids more than life, and I'm willing to do this for them. So that's it. And that's that. Like, I'm done. I'm done playing in your guys' cesspool. So let's do it all, I say, because that's what it's going to do. Ultimately, you keep me in jail, guess what's going to happen? I lose my job. Kids lose their income. Like, I'm calling your bluff. Go for it. It's not going to be very comfortable for me, but whatever.
Yeah, and I just looked up a statistic. It says that the federal government reimburses states 66% of all allowable expenditures on child support enforcement activities. This means for every $3 a state spends on eligible program costs, the federal government provides $2 in matching funds. So for every $3 they get, the federal government gives them $2 for free. And so there's a huge financial incentive for them to keep this going. It says in the year 2022, the combined federal and state administrative expenditures for child support enforcement amounted to $6.1 billion. The federal funding is open-ended with no upper limit on the federal government's match for allowable expenditures. So there's no cap to how much, no limit. It can be 500 billion and keep climbing. And it says, additionally, the federal government provides incentive payments to states based on their performance in child support enforcement. While the exact figure for 2022 is not available, in 2021, the incentive payments totaled $509 million. So if they do a good job enforcing the order, they're getting $500 million. And so it's crazy.
Throw me in jail, they're going to get extra money? Are they going to get more money by throwing me in jail?
And like, think about it, like the magistrate judge, like this child support enforcement office, the magistrate court, the magistrate judge, all their enforcement officers, all these people, every dollar they're getting paid, the federal government's giving them free money. So of course they're going to keep doing this to you. And I was going to say, when Grossman started messing with the 4D court, she then put in an order saying that I'm not allowed. She court ordered saying I'm not allowed to try to recover my arrearage. I'm not allowed to try to go after the arrears that he owes me, and put that in a court order. And I'm just like, you know what? This judge is like so rogue. Like I literally had lawsuits against her, complaints, recusals, everything. And she was continuing to refuse to recuse herself, wouldn't let any other judge touch my case at all. And was just putting in orders every other day. Like every few days, she would issue an order out of nowhere with no court hearing, no court appearance. Like,
remember what we're fighting here too, though. This is principalities. I'm fighting the principle of this. I'm not going to be a party to your baloney anymore. And I'm calling for everybody to do it. If you're baby mom and a baby daddy, whatever we want to call each other, take yourself off this stuff and just deal with each other civilly outside of court. Right now, go down there and stop it. Like, go down to your, wherever you got to go, child support enforcement. If you're paying through them, stop that now. Stop paying it. Talk to each other civilly. Figure it out yourselves. Let's dismantle this whole thing. That's what I say. We don't need the family courts. What did they do before family courts? You figured it out. We had duels back then too, which would probably help. But
Actually, back in the day, you used to be able to go to federal court and get divorced. And then they started changing it so that the states, they reserved anything to do with domestic relations, divorce, custody, all that to the states. So now the states have complete control in each state in their own government with no oversight, because who would, if the judicial branch is not following the law, who would be the one to enforce it? The executive branch. Well, who's the executive branch in our state? Ned Lamont.
Yeah, that's my problem.
You think
I know.
Ned cares? Ned is literally one of the problem. And I looked it up. I said, is it illegal to imprison someone for a debt in the USA? In the US, it is not legal to imprison someone for failing to pay a civil or consumer debt. This practice, known as debtor's prison, was abolished at the federal level in 1833. It says you can be arrested or jailed for failing to pay credit card or other consumer debt. And then it says child support failure to pay is usually can result in jail and as a last resort.
But they're not going to throw me in jail for that. They're going to throw me in jail for willful disobedience of a court order.
You see the first judge that was on it? The one that got all the notoriety?
Oh, Erica Tyndall. I know her well.
She seems really awesome, actually. When I had the first... Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, Judge Grossman ordered that my daughter was going to go live with the dad, and she immediately took my daughter away. And like a week and a half later, I went to Milford Court and I filed for a restraining order. I filed for one in my daughter's name against her brother and the other in my daughter's name against her dad. And Tyndall granted both of them ex parte. And the Milford Court was like, oh, you can come pick up your restraining orders. They were granted. And so I went there, and then I made the mistake of talking to the lady, Lori, that works in the court service center after. And I was like, oh, these are granted, but I'm supposed to be on supervised visits. So who has custody? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And then she's like, does Grossman have something to do with this? And she like knew it was Grossman as soon as she saw my name. So then she asked to see the restraining orders. She's like, can I see those for a second? And then she goes in the back, and then she comes back and she's like, oh, the court vacated those orders and now they transferred it to New Haven. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you guys called me and said they were granted ex parte, 2 restraining orders, literally granted. You told me to come pick them up and give them to the marshal. And now you're just going to take them out of my hand, bring them back, and say that she's now all of a sudden she's vacating them because she had some secret conversation with somebody and now she's vacating it. And then she's transferred. Exactly. And that's not even ex parte. Ex parte is with one party. This is just completely off the record. It's like Tyndall literally like called Grossman, and Grossman was like, oh no, don't grant the restraining orders for her. And she's like, oh, never mind, I'm going to vacate them now. And then she vacated them with no explanation and said that they would be heard on June 15th, 2023 in New Haven court. And on that day, she didn't hear any of them and dismissed them all without a hearing. And so it's like, it just goes to show you that this lady is corrupt, Erica Tyndall. And she also used to be a judge and worked in Miami-Dade County. And I heard she was involved with corruption down there too. And so like, there's ones that are in like every courthouse. It's like Grossman, Price Borland, Tyndall, you got Russo, Margarita Hartley Moore, like Groggins. Like I think there's a big network, and I do believe that CSA and stuff like that is involved. And anyways, so that's the order here that you're talking about, 226.
Yeah, this is the order that came after that trial there, that little sham thing that they pulled us all into there, and he had the people behind me, and then he said, oh, never mind, we're not gonna lock you up because you don't have your ADA accommodations, so I'm going to give you 2 weeks to get those. That's where, okay, and then this is what the court finds a defendant indigent. I'm an indigent and facing possibility of incarceration, and adopts.
Can you actually click it?
What do you mean?
So it shows on, like, can you click on where it says court order in the blue link?
Okay, so, yep. So like right here, you see that?
It's just showing me the bottom of your screen that it's not showing the court order.
Oh, it's not. Oh,
Are-
what is this?
Are you sharing your?
I see it came up in a different window. So I need to share that.
Yeah. Now, yeah. So just you're sharing it. So
So
just click that.
when I click on this,
Yep.
right? So when I click on this,
Yes.
share this
There you
tab
go.
instead. That's what I want to do. There it is. Okay. Now you can see it. All right.
Okay.
So court indigent facing possibility of incarceration and appoints.
Wait, make
public
it bigger.
defender.
There you go. Okay.
There, let me get it in the middle.
No,
here.
wait. No, I can't see. Make it smaller because it's too wide.
How's that? Is that in there? I can't really tell.
X out where it says "Hi Johnny" on the left. X out that so you have more space.
On the left.
There you
Okay.
go.
Perfect. So yeah, finds me indigent, facing possibility of incarceration. And then I got a public defender, Ms. Esposito, but I didn't agree to any of this. He just did this. Court overrules, denies the defendant's objection. So he actually went through one of my, because I had filed some stuff before, kind of pleading my case and saying that it shouldn't even be here. And I was hoping that somebody would do that before we got into court. They didn't. I called the clerk's office a bunch of times trying to figure out how to get that seen, or if I got to do another hearing at the superior level. Like, there's a big misconnect, or like, how do I know that I'm filing in this court? Because they're two separate courts. They are distinct entities. And so, but it's all under the same number, right? So how do you file for this court?
Well, when it's like that, you just file in the same docket, and they would route it where it's supposed to go.
So Stack, he's the guy that does all the scheduling and such. You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, so I have this cool little mail tracker too, right? That anything that I send to them via email, it tracks their email, tracks how many times they open it, tracks what they open, tracks all those kinds of things. And you know, there's been a couple of times where one entity or one office opens the same thing that the other time another office opens. So one could detect that they're actually talking to each other, right? Like there's something going on. Like, I see that quite a bit in this case where, so there was, the thing that really started me questioning what's going on was when they tried to, they brought me in. So I put some things on YouTube because I wanted to get my own transcripts, and YouTube does it for free. So I put some of our court transcripts that I obtained legally through this court, put it on YouTube to get the transcript. And then I shared it with some friends, and my ex got wind of it, brought it to her attorney. Her attorney then filed a motion for order and blamed and said that I obtained those illegally. Right. That was the purpose for bringing me back into court was that I obtained them illegally. She never asked me how I got them or nothing. She never sent me an email or asked me. She just brought it straight to court, which is all, you know, she should have done a little bit of digging, at least talk to me or ask me a question about it. She didn't. So as soon as I get to court, the marshals are like checking me for like wires. And I'm like, this is weird. They've never done that before. Walk through the whole thing, come in, and they start this proceeding, and I walked in right on time on this one. Like, I didn't get there early. They tried to get me there early in the day, so I was like, all right. So I went right on time, walked right in. They were expecting me not to show up. Like, it was like that close to the time. And I show up, and so they're like kind of, you know, dazed a little bit. But it's like they had orchestrated the whole thing. I walk in, and they start asking questions about it. And I said, Your Honor, I obtained them legally and properly. And I just shut up, right? And then the other side started getting into the subject matter of what was on there, right? Which, I mean, we're protected by that. That's First Amendment stuff. And that's when I kind of went, wait a second. This is a frivolous lawsuit. You brought me in to answer a question whether it's legally, like I got it legally. If I got it legally, there's no problem with what's going on here. What's going on? And the judge immediately went in and admonished me for the subject matter of what I had posted online. And I didn't know a lot of this at the time at all.
What was the subject matter? Just part of the hearing?
It was the hearing.
Yeah, and these are all public records. Anybody can order the audio and transcript from anybody's case. Anybody can.
Right. Right.
Unless
So,
it's a sealed case, which your case is not sealed. So it's open to the public.
so, I mean, I this one I've got the transcripts of and everything. You've got to see some of the stuff that they said. It's like they were like,
Well, what was so bad that he like yelled at you? Like, what was so bad?
Oh, it was well that I have a 13-year-old daughter, and do I even have the ability to think about her in this? And I said, yeah, you know,
what was said in the video? They said the subject matter. What was the subject matter that was bad in their eyes?
All of it. It's, you know, what they said bad in their eyes was just the proceedings itself. That it's, you know, family and all the drama and all the lies that mom told basically is what they didn't want out there, which is what I was intending to do, was like systematically go through and just like say, look at this. And then here's the proof that what she said is wrong. And they just took her for face value. And because I couldn't bring up any evidence. So everything was brought, whatever she said is what the court believed. And it was like, wow, this was a one-way ticket to losing my kids. Like there's nothing I could do. It was already set as soon as Cohen. So she hired Michelle, her friend. So they're buddies. Lawyers are buddies. She's a waitress at a restaurant. They're both North Haven. It's in North Haven. Not Lou Dow's. Is it Lou Dow's? Yes, Lou Dow's. So they've known each other for years. I think I've met her before, I want to say, but I know that they're buddies, and she hates me. Like I've never seen an attorney hates another client like she does. Like she is not objective in any way, form. She wants me to roast. And it's weird.
Like personal. It's like it's personal with her.
Right.
That's
So it's
how
like,
the lawyer was the girl that's suing me. He's like, he stalks me on TikTok. I had to block him. He makes burner pages. Like, it's like they're sick in the head. And I try complaining to the bar, and the bar doesn't do anything.
No, I know, and that's a waste of time. And it's just going to highlight me as being the one.
Yeah, then they retaliate more. So it's like, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
Stay quiet, stay in your place.
Well, I noodle a little. You know, why not? I noodle her. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna. There's no way I'm ever gonna harass her, ever. I don't hate somebody, but
you noodle her. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So she, and this was funny. So I'm trying to, you know, I'm my best lawyer for my couch. Like I'm really good at being a lawyer for my couch, but boy, I'm terrible when I get in the courthouse or with anything. I'm reading this stuff and and I'm taking it for what the words are written on the paper. You know, right? Like anybody should do. Like the black and white letters on the paper mean something, right? Like that's what the practice book says. So I'm reading this thing and so we're about to get in. I'm trying to find something. I'm trying to figure something out. How the hell this other court works. I'm still very, very confused about it. Other than now, I get it. What they do there, they can't do in the other court, and it's so black and white that they can't think. They're not allowed to think. That magistrate is not allowed to think. He's only allowed to do A and B. Every one of these boxes in here has like 2 answers, and that's all he can do. He can't. There's no nuance. There's no nothing. There's no, hey, I know that there's an order about this, but you offered to do this. He can't even bring that into his mind. So it's, you didn't pay it. It says you should pay it. You're done. Like that's how that court is set up.
That's not, it's arbitrary because they don't apply the same to every person. Like there's times when I went in front of magistrates that were like, okay, even though you proved that he could pay, but he didn't pay. He showed us that he's struggling with money right now. So we're going to give him a chance to come back in 8 weeks. And if he doesn't have a job by then, show us a list of places he applied. And like, they were so easy, kept giving chance after chance after chance. So it's like with you, they're doing this to you strategically because one, your ex has a firm that, like you said, it's personal. And also, don't forget the former New Haven family judge Emmons, who was highly controversial. I had her too. And she was going to be disbarred, but instead they quietly just didn't reconfirm her because judges in Connecticut get appointed, not elected. And every 8 years they go up for being reconfirmed. And so she was supposed to be reconfirmed, but they voted not to. And so instead, she didn't lose her license to be a lawyer. She went and works at Cohen and Wolf, and she advises everything that's going on. And he was super corrupt. But I'm looking at this here, and it says like they find that the defendant is indigent and appointed a public defender. But then it says they said you had notice and filed a continuance, and then they're ordering you to make a lump sum payment. So like, how can they say that you're indigent and then order you to make the lump sum payment? That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Like usually what they do with this, they would say, okay, if she showed proof that you really owed that amount and the judge agreed that you owed it, it would be like, okay, we'll pay her $30 a week until it's paid.
Correct.
That's
like
that's what they
there's other,
usually do.
you're gonna get rid of your license, bud. Like there's so many different things they could, but they went right to putting things on me. So that's where I went. Bully. This is where I'm dealing with a bully. And what do you do with bullies? You stand up to them.
Yeah, and this guy, Michael Ferguson, he's not a bully. He's just being controlled by people that are more superior to him. He's a puppet.
He seems like he runs a tight court. Like he comes in there and he's telling people to shut up, sit down, like that kind of stuff, like the hard-nosed judge. Well, he's a magistrate. Like he's not a judge.
Yeah,
not a judge.
exactly. And
so
remember, he's getting 66 cents for every dollar that they're collecting off you.
Right. In their pension, right? Or something like that.
So it's directly to fund his pension.
Right.
And it's free money with an unlimited cap.
Yeah. So he's got an incentive.
Can you actually go back one tab to the rest of your docket for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to see. They said they overruled and denied your objection.
Yes.
I want to see what your objection was.
All right. So where are we at here? So we got the memorandum, then we have the order, contempt citation, right? So this comes in, boom. So
make sure you're doing it in the right browser.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see. So I have. How can I come back to this one? Let's see. I'll probably close that one.
You got to go back where. Oh.
Yeah. I'm gonna come back to it, and then I'll share here.
And like that also ties into like equal protection, because like if the rules for you are different than the rules for me, and they were different from the rules for somebody else we know, then it's not legal. It's unconstitutional because the rules have to apply to everybody. If you get to have, like you said, if the lawyer gets to go and do legal research.
Yeah. If they get to have a room.
If they get ChatGPT in the middle of court, you get to do the same.
I would say. I mean, that's what legal protection sounds like to me, but
it is.
The judge told me that I'm confusing that. She's confusing that. She's saying that, no, you get certain things because you have a counsel. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Okay.
Well, I hope they said that on the record, because that's violates your rights to equal protection.
She did. She said it all. There's a lot to unpack in my case. What can you see?
I can see the screen here that it's like the one at the bottom is 264, motion for permission.
Yeah. Okay.
Where's your objection?
Yeah.
You gotta go down.
Yep, I gotta go down. I gotta find it again. There it is. Okay. All right. You see all that? Yeah, I'm moving now. Okay. So motion for order, contempt citation. So they issued it twice for some reason. Because I kept telling them that I never got served. So there's also an Officer Tulisano from the New Britain courthouse. He's one of them. I have many taped conversations with him. He ordered me to his courtroom to pick up paperwork.
What?
And I went, so are you subpoenaing me, or what's going on? What do you? So ultimately he told me what it was. I said, oh, you're trying to serve me a summons. Yeah, I'm not coming to the court to pick up a summons. Next thing you're going to want me to do is go buy some cards at the gas station and give you the numbers off of them so that you can take my money. Like, are you a scam? I don't know who you are. And so we went back and forth a little bit, and he told me that I'm going to go back and talk to the judge then. I was like, oh God, you're going to have
another threat.
Right. And we're going to take your license. And I'm like, okay, well, for what? Because I'm not coming to the court. Like, you know where I live. Come to my house. Bring it to me. I'm here. I can meet you somewhere if you want. We can work something out. I'm not coming to the courthouse to pick up paperwork. No way. If I got to serve somebody, I got to hire somebody. They go out and they do it, right? And then they do all that service. So we went back a few times, got a little nasty once because I was like, he's like, you were ordered to be here and you're not. I'm like, who are you to give me any type of an order? Like, you're not a judge. He said, well, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm like, well, there's the problem is that people hear you and you're threatening and they just think that you're real, and you're not. You're fake. You're not real. You have no authority to order me to a court. There's a couple things that order me to a court. Only two, not you. So we went, and he's, then ultimately he finished it with, and he sounded like a nice guy. So I'm not like, I don't think he's really bad at heart. I think he really thinks he's doing a service to the country and all that garbage. But he goes, well, I'm just trying to do my job, sir. Can you just comply? You know how many people just comply? Just do it, man. Come on, you're making. And you know how many times I've heard that ever since I've dealt with these people? I'm just doing my job. Everything doesn't need to be difficult. And I'm like, I'm not being difficult. I'm just asking for equal protection. I'm asking for your last name.
You know who else was just doing their job? The Nazis.
Yeah, so I did that to Tulisano too. And that's not that makes a point, but
it makes an excellent point, because people like to sit back and look at history and say, well, if I was there, I would have said something and I would have stood up. But look at people now. You talk about what's going on. You know how many people told me that they don't want to even talk to me anymore or be involved because of everything that's happened? And it's like, people don't want to hear about it. They just blame you. They think that there's something wrong with you. They can't understand that this level of corruption happens. And because there is no oversight, there's zero federal oversight, because once you start filing in federal court, you'll realize that the federal courts will always send it back to state court and say that the states have exclusive jurisdiction, and there's sovereign immunity and judicial immunity and the Rooker-Feldman and domestic relations abstention doctrine. And you can read, you said you talked to Peter before. He's taken things all the way to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, federal appeals, and they still did the same corrupt stuff to him. They did it to me too. They literally told me, I said I wanted access to e-filing. They said instead of having me get access to e-filing, they'll just let me email my stuff. And I said, no, like, the lawyers have access to e-filing, but I don't. That's equal protection. And then they're like, oh, well, they sent me an email from the federal appeals court, an email saying, oh, we administratively decided that you're going to have to do it this way. And so, like, I can't appeal that to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's an email. It's not even an official order. This is why they do sneaky stuff, even in the federal court, even in the state appeals and Supreme Court. Like, It's so bad in Connecticut, because it's also, I don't know if you heard about, I think it was like in Texas or some state, like last week, they said that the entire police department was abolished because every single person that worked there was arrested for, they said that they were all indicted by a grand jury because it said that they were acting more as a criminal organization rather than a law enforcement entity. And so because of that, they all were arrested and they shut down the police station. So you would never see something like that happen in Connecticut, because back in the 80s, they used the legislation in Connecticut, passed laws that replaced the grand jury system, which is another thing that's guaranteed to us in the Constitution. They took away the grand jury, which usually it's made up of people, of your peers, people that you relate to and understand. They replaced it with, instead of that, to get like an indictment, that now it's replaced with either the state's attorney or a judge. So like a state's attorney is the state. A judge is the state. So when you're trying to get an indictment on the state and you live in a state where they illegally remove your right to a grand jury indictment and you can't even go after them, and then the federal government will say that they have no jurisdiction and the FBI doesn't want to investigate. And, you know, I went through a lot of like, I was sending stuff before Trump got in, I was sending stuff to the FBI and it was getting returned back to sender. Like,
Wow.
imagine I sent like, I paid for all this, like certified, a huge package with all this evidence, everything. Nope. Returned back to me. And I'm like, what a joke. And so like, honestly, like since Trump's been in, I haven't done another like report or anything, but I plan on it because it's like with the new administration and all these like the new like FBI director and you know, all that stuff, I feel like maybe there's like some hope now.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of why I'm thinking some of these guys that are already there rubbing shoulders with them, you know, like they've been doing a lot of work up until, you know, there is like Ludwig, right? He's been up. Seems he's getting traction. Whether if he's telling the truth, I tried to take their class, right, and I went in, and they're about changing these laws, and I'm like, these laws don't need to be changed. We just need to follow them, or it needs to be completely dismantled. Like they're doing the wrong thing, changing laws, making it so that that everybody's 50-50 from the go ain't gonna make it so. That's the wrong way to go about this. It's a complete reform. We don't need any adversarial stuff in family court. The adversarial stuff is what's killing it. Child support is what's killing it. This is not in best interest. You're causing conflict with this stuff. You're causing conflict. Now, if you want to enter in an agreement with your ex and you guys want to split up and you want to enter in an agreement that, you know what, yeah, hey, I think it's great. I just want the kids every other weekend. That's fine. But I'm no less of a parent than she is. And she's no less of a parent than mine. And my relationship with my children is not dependent upon her. Well, it is here, right? It's dependent on how well we get along, if I even get to see my kids. So I got to pander and appease to her and pay her what she wants. Like that, this all causes the conflict. So if we completely remove this, you know, it's like, okay, I get it. If somebody's, well, I mean, geez, I could take my kid to in the middle of winter, and if we had a kid, we could take him to the fire station, give up our rights to the children, right? Like, and that would happen right there, no questions asked. They don't even say anything about that because they don't want kids ending up in dumpsters, right? So they say, hey, you can take your kid, you bring him to the fire station, you drop him off, you can walk away without having anything to do with that child ever again. That's possible. That is absolutely possible. And I think hooray to that, because what happens if that's not possible?
Yeah, Connecticut just said in the news that they're installing all these like boxes to do that in all the hospitals.
Great. And you know what? Somebody
That's
gets
fine,
into that desperate, and they're sick and they're in that desperate of a state. Fine. Thank you for doing that.
But you see like how when somebody's doing that, they're exercising their free will, right? Everybody has the free will to either be supporting their child or to abandon their child at any age, right? But at the same time, you have to realize that in no other venue other than family court and child support court, in no other judicial venue will you ever be forced into a agreement. It's called an agreement, but they force you into it. And in child support, it's like, okay, if you don't want to agree, too bad. We're just going to order it anyway. In family court, no, we're just going to order whatever we feel like it because it's in the best interest. So it's like now.
That's where they're wrong, because they can't do the best interest.
And like and then there was no jury trial. There was no due process. There was nothing. And then like you mentioned before saying, oh, well, you know, if debtors' prisons are unconstitutional, they'll just say they're holding me in contempt for not following a court order. But in Connecticut, the only time that in Connecticut, custodial interference is the only time that they'll enforce somebody not following the custody order. And custodial interference is so specific that it literally only means if they refuse to give the child back. But if both parents have custody, they won't make an arrest. But then other times I've seen cases where they did make an arrest. So again, it's arbitrary where they're picking and choosing when and how to apply the rules. And like, it's almost like as if like, if there was like an AI system that had all the laws and all the statutes and all the codes, and they ran the information through it and spit it back out, there would be no bias. It would look at the laws and apply it. And these people, like you said, who are trying to change the law and lobbying and stuff like that, it's all a facade. The laws right now say that all the stuff that they did to us is illegal. So under the current existing laws, this is treason. This is racketeering. This is like highest level corruption you could think of, that you're going to probably at some point see indictments in the future. And we've had a governor that went to federal prison. We've had mayors that went to federal prison. Like, you know,
but it's not going to be, it's never going to be over something like this. You want to know why? Because you
too
don't
much
talk
money
about,
involved.
you don't talk about Fight Club.
But
you don't talk about, it's two things. You don't air your dirty laundry, and guess what we're doing? Airing our dirty laundry. Oh my God. Oh, you're so horrible. Oh, wow. Okay. And there's a big, huge incentive. So we're like double screwed in this, to where look at this guy over here, just airing dirty laundry. I mean, I know you hear it all the time. It's like, we don't have a voice, people. This is the only voice. Like when you go without being heard for years of not being heard, you do one of two things. You crumble up and you die, or you continue to fight until they kill you, basically. Because we don't have a voice. That's why. Because I go into this courtroom and I don't have a voice. You won't let me have a voice. You won't even let me feel. Oprah says it great, right? She says, what does she say? She says, make you feel seen, heard, and what you say matters. I don't care if they even faked it. If they did just that, they made me feel seen, heard, and what I said matters to my children, this would be a complete different outcome.
well, yeah, and because there's corruption involved in your specific case, like I'm sure other people go to court and it's fine. Like all the times in the past when I went and nothing happened. But once you have somebody who either pays somebody off or has a connection or a corrupt lawyer or is blood hungry for money like crazy and doing anything they can to escalate it, because think about it, those lawyers are getting paid and this is feeding into everybody's salary.
The worst part about this, I've lost my whole family. My family don't talk to me.
Same.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, you know what? Good riddance. Like, fine. I know I'm right. Like, I know that I'm doing the right thing. So I sleep well at night. The moment I start going, no, man, you gotta watch out, man.
I mean, it's like also like you have to remember that like your rights, like your human rights were given to you like from God. Like nobody, no governor, no president, no ruler. These are all fake rulers that are trying to mock God. In the end of the world, you're going to have one judge and everybody has their beliefs, but you know, there's only one true judge and the world's going to end tomorrow. And if it does, you're going to look back at your life and say, did you stand up for what's right? Or did you give in and back down to evil? Because that's what a lot of these people are. They're evil. They're satanic. They're, you know,
and well, faithful servant, right? Like when we go, like that's what we want to hear. It's a parable, and I'm terrible with it, but well done, good and faithful servant. Like, is that what you want to hear when you go to heaven, or you want to hear, hey, you did very little with much that I gave you. What the heck's wrong with you? Yeah. You know, it's the parable of the sower, is what it is. It just came to me. But I tell you, but if you look around in your life, you can see. And I went to church yesterday for the first time in a long time. I've having a little spiritual battle here. My wife said it right. Like she's like everything that I've been through in this world, like up until now, is getting me ready for this, which is what makes me think that I'm going to stick this out a little bit. I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid. They came behind me with handcuffs. They were going to throw me. I wasn't afraid. It was weird. You know, it was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. There's something going to come out of this. And I choose to believe that, whether it's baloney or whatnot. My wife and I together, that's not made up. Like you and I talking, it's not made up. There's something here, and whether it's us or whether we're a catalyst to somebody else. But I mean, the thing that I enjoy saying the most right now is it stops with me. I watched a movie. They said this, and I can't remember what it was. She was talking about abusive relationship. She's like, no, this stops with me, because you know what? My kids are going to have the same scar and the same wounding and they're going to pass on to their kids. And they're going to pass on to their kids. They're going to pass on to their kids, because it happened on my side of the family. It stops with me. It's done here. Like, if we do that, I've affected a whole generation of people. If I don't, I commit genocide. It stops with me. So it makes it very easy for me to say, you want to burn me at the stake and send me in jail? Yes, it stops with me. It's done. No more. Because that stops it. And you see that. You see that in, God, the Old Testament many times, where God specifically says it's better to wipe out a whole generation of this filthiness than it is to live in it, because it just takes people to stand up for it. It does. And it's scary until it's not. And it's not scary. Like, I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about this. It's going to be taken care of. I've never gone a day without eating, and I can tell. So I have always had a place to stay. Like, who am I depending upon? Is it me? Because I'll screw stuff up big time. I've done stuff on my own will. But there's something here, and there's something with filing, and there's something, and my wife is just amazing, by the way, at this. And she's a testament to where two people get put together with, like, and we could be oil and water too, like, it's so ironic, because she's gone, let's see, she was a 23-year-old, 20 years without any child support, and works with, and it's like, in knowing the temperament, knowing her family, knowing what it would do to the family, where she can think in the best interest of the children and go, you know what? Not the best interest to go after somebody for some money right now for this, and maybe down the road it would be, but right now it's just not. It doesn't make sense. And it's like, and because you know what that would do to my kids? Because they love their dad, or their relationship with their father is so fragile that would just be the thing that could just separate them. And it's worth more to have that relationship than a little bit of money. Because who's going to take care of me anyway? God is. Like, it ain't going to be you. You with a little faith.
Yeah, and you know what? You probably won't even believe me if I say this, but I literally think, like, yesterday I was literally having, like, the exact same thought process, like, thinking about my whole life and everything I've been through, and how, like, all the experiences and trauma and everything that I went through, like, made it so, like, I could, like, have such a, like, good perspective to be able to be in the position I'm in now, and to understand what's going on, and maybe, like, there's a bigger purpose for all of this. And I was in law school and wanting to be a lawyer, and then it's like seeing all these lawyers being corrupt and dirty and crooked, and, like, noticing that there's really no ethical lawyers out there anymore, that they're all bought and paid for and scared of the judges. And it's like, it's messed up. So I think that maybe this had to happen so that I could, like, be in a position to try to actually, like, help,
I think another thing,
what's going on.
Yeah, and you're I don't know what I would see. It's weird.
I'll tell you what, if my kid didn't get taken away, I would have never cared about the family court system. I would have spent zero time researching about all this stuff. And now I've really realized that the Title 4D system makes children into commodities. Child support should be illegal. Child support.
You got a whole other thing. How can I sit here and not commit homicide, knowing that my child's been it could quite possibly being hurt by somebody else, right?
That's another thing. It's psychological.
Like, I sat there one night and thinking about that, like, oh my God, like, my little girl. I mean, I'm not going to incriminate myself here.
You got to realize that
it's but it's not. But then recently it's been coming to me. It's like, who am I with little faith? Like, what does God have in store for her? It's not me that takes care of my children. It's God. He just gives me a loan to kind of, like, not let them run into the road. That's about it. And if he's going to allow me to do that, to stop them from running into the road and traffic, that's my only job. It's not that hard. He's not going to give the heavy lifting belongs to him, not me. And do I choose to believe that or not, or do I choose to believe that I'm somebody that can make a difference in my child's life? Because I'm really not. Because I noticed that my kids would not be coached by me at all. My oldest daughter, we were boom from the start. There's no coaching her. I'm a big time sports guy. I love basketball, love baseball, love all that stuff. Take her to all that stuff. I could watch it with her. When it comes down to teaching her how to pass a basketball, she wouldn't. It was like, I'm going to shoot you with a gun, basically, is what it felt like with her. Like, it was horrible. And I recognized that, so I didn't get involved in coaching. Kind of broke my heart. Kind of wanted to do that, but it wouldn't have worked. I didn't have any of that. I try to force myself into it, but that's it. It's like, what is our job as parents? It's like, is it micromanage them, do all that stuff, make sure they eat right and all that? That's us taking control, I think. I really do. And I think let God handle it, and we'll stop them from going in the street. How's that? Yeah, and then that gives you a little bit of, like, not off the hook, but it's like, it doesn't say don't stop fighting for them, but like, they're gonna be okay.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna be okay, and like, they'll be stronger, in the end and stuff. But at the same time, I think one of the best ways you can continue to fight is like to keep like building your paper trail, keep putting everything on the record. Like you said that they don't let you talk before, or they don't let you, show what you have to show. You can file an affidavit in your docket, and
I did do that. I did do that.
Yeah, and have it notarized, and whatever you say there, it's the same as if you testified under oath, and make that in the record. And like, if they object, like I noticed some of your stuff said it was rejected. I don't know why. If they reject it, fix it and send it again. And,
right.
Start to file appeals, start to remove out of that jurisdiction. It's only gotten worse. It's been like a year of them doing this to you, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And like, they see that you've never filed an appeal. They see that you've never tried to remove it. They see that you didn't do a federal lawsuit, or
that is coming, actually. That's in the. So I don't know if you know Hope and Darkness. Do you know those guys? So
no.
Yeah, so we meet almost every night. So it's we have a clinical psychologist, and he bases a lot of this on behaviorism. And it's a way that we can actually show with evidence in court alienation. I would say you're alienated. You're not typically alienated from you're not like us is more of a covert. Yours is a very overt case from what I've noticed. Like it's very overt. It's straight. It's almost corruption.
Like out in the
open.
Straight
corruption. It's almost straight corruption with you. And I've seen
it. Oh no, it's not almost. It definitely is.
So, but with my case, right? My kids have been taken away from me way before. Well, one of them especially has been taken away from me a long time ago, and I didn't even see it coming. And it was covert, and it was through. To be honest, it was through a lot of. Sometimes watching some of your stuff, I see behaviors that I see in her, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds like my ex. But I get to know you, and I know that's not you. That's not your heart. But it's like those things get into my daughter's. Let me give you a great example of it. It's very hard to talk about this covert stuff. She would.
What's an example of something that I said that sounded like her?
No, it could very well could be because they're both brunettes, and like that. It was on a phone. And you were here it is right here. Okay. When I would go to pick up my kids, she would almost over dramatify the pickups and the drop-offs, right? To where it almost felt like she was so hurt by them leaving her. And there's nothing she's doing that's wrong. You look at it from the outside and you're like, oh man, that's a sweet mom doing this, right? But in a sense, what she's doing is and boy, I could get guilty of this too if I don't have my freaking thinker on, right? Especially now that I know that I know this stuff. Now I could be more calculating because I'm a calculating person too. We're all capable of this. And sometimes we don't even know we're doing it, and it's demonic forces that are doing it. It just is. But when I saw her drop down and like, oh honey, I love you so much, and I'm picking them up to taking them, and I'm going, and I'm the one that's had to rip it, and no wonder. And then 3 times after that, now my daughter's crying, and I have to rip her out of her hands to bring her into the car, and now she's kicking me, and I'm going, why? What's going on? I didn't know. And if we would have been able to have that open conversation right there, and like, hey, Lisette, this is hurting him. It's really going to hurt him. Like, this is what it's going to do. When she's 26-year-old, she's going to have an inability to have a relationship with a man or woman. Now that's the whole thing that started all this, but a man. Do we want to rethink this? What are we telling them? You know, and I get it. And there's hurt feelings and there's all this stuff, and damn it, it's hard. And I think that's where I kind of that I've seen that a lot of times, and I see it a lot of times, and she still does it though. And now it's almost like she does it on purpose, and that's where I think she's calculating. But it's so covert to that.
Like it's almost like they try to like get inside the kid's head and like saying negative things about you, probably having
that's overt. Maybe that's so overt. No, she'll say to her, your dad's awesome. That little sigh. It's a death by 1,000 sighs. Oh, him again.
Yeah, but maybe she's talking on the phone about you to one of her friends and talking smack, and your daughter hears it. You know what I mean? Like, kids pick up on everything. They even pick up on energy. Yes.
And I made the decision this weekend. I had her, and I might not see her again, right? Like, they could take me to jail. And she's 7. And I sat and I kind of prayed about it, and it's pretty clear. I talked to her about it this weekend. She cried. Daddy made her cry. And but
you told her that you might go to jail.
I told her that I said, you know, there's laws and we have, and sometimes if you break a law, and guess what Daddy's doing? He's, on the grand scheme of things, he's breaking a law. He is. He's saying no to authority figure, right? That's what I'm doing. That's what we kind of tell them not to do, right? And I'm doing it. And I said, this is very hard to talk about because we want you to follow the law, right? And so it's like, so why are you not following the law? I said, well, because I think I need to see you just as much as mommy needs to see you. And I kind of keep it at that. Not anymore. Mommy's great. You know what? I love your mommy. And I do. There's a part of me that doesn't love her so much, and when I'm by myself and with other people in different, I maybe use some choice adjectives. Now you got to really watch out for that, because that brings, like you said, you start talking about that energy, and what is it about? It's about our kids, and we got to put some thought into this. We got to put some thinking into this and some talking into this. And if you're not willing to do this, you're not a good parent. That's what I say. If you're not willing to have these conversations where we can say, hey, what's going on? Then you're not a fit parent. So that's what Hope and Darkness is kind of doing, is we're going, all right, we're going to give you a certificate on being a fit parent. It's going to come from a psychologist. And we're going to send the same thing to the other person. And you know what the other person does every single time? They refuse to take it. Why? Why? Because they're not, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't even want to look at this stuff.
Because the one who's willing to do it is always the one who's fighting for their kids, and the one who's holding it away is always the abuser. That's how it works. And
that tells you right there that they're not fit, right?
Yeah.
So I have I have a certificate that says I'm a fit parent, signed by a doctor. So I would love to bring that into court. What are they going to do? I have all this evidence. Now I'm able to make some behavioral. So I'm also certified in behaviorism, where I can make some observations. So we have this whole kit of tools that we go through, and we put in. And see, here I am on the test, right? I'm certified in it, so I can see. I'm making an observation. Phone calls, because that's all I get, or lack of phone call. So if I get a lack of a phone call, that's an easy observation. That's an observation that other people can see. So now it's peer reviewed. I have an observation on a phone call. Phone call comes in, or it doesn't come in. Oh, it is not normal for a child not to call their other parent. You know that, right? That's weird. Like, kids are natural. Like we all know this. Kids are naturally attached to mom and dad. Like that, you can't take that away from them. You take that away from them, you're doing something to take that away. You're
Yeah,
severing
but
that
are
relationship.
you the one trying to call and they're not answering?
So in my court order, because they wrote in there so nicely and so gently that so I get to talk to them one time a day. And well, they also took away my ability to talk to my older daughter. It's up to her to foster a relationship with me. She gets to choose that, which in itself that's illegal. There's a whole
How
bunch
old
of
is
things
she?
that are in 14 now, but she was 13 at the time, early 13 at the time.
You're
But
making
there's
it her responsibility. That's just
well,
insane.
here's the thing, right? So the last time I saw her was on her birthday, which happens to be Christmas Eve. I had a nice gift for a really nice jacket, expensive one, label, all that stuff. I purposely went out to hand it to her. I wanted to give her birthday present. It's my daughter's 14th birthday. I think I will break every court order in the world to go see her and to give her birthday present. And she's sitting next to her girlfriend in the backseat of mom's car. And it's it's heightened emotion situation. It just is. Thanks, Mom, I say. I hand it to her, and guess what I got in return? Fuck off.
Did she take it?
She took it. I asked for it back later, but
You asked for it
fuck
back?
off. Now, think about this. I haven't had any contact because she won't allow me to talk to her in months, right? So this is the observation that I'm talking about. I haven't had any contact with her. So I'm off the hook for anything that she feels about me because I'm not there.
Does she have her own phone?
Mom, what's that?
Does she have her own?
She's in mom's sphere. She's in mom's
Does she have her own phone? Does she have her own cell phone?
She has her own phone. She has her own phone. She doesn't respond to texts with me, which is also opposite. So she's avoiding behavior. That's a maladaptive behavior. If you're a child and you have a father and you choose not to talk to them, that's maladaptive. That's not setting you up for success. That's setting you up for failure. Because children without fathers, do worse in life. Now, here's the key. The other parent, what is she doing? She's praising her to not talk to me. There's evidence right there. That's evidence that's peer-reviewed, that you can see, that I can see, that everybody can see that mom is supporting her maladaptive behavior. I bring that to a judge, and I got a doctor saying this. And I do this not just one, but 1,000 times. Now what? That's a game changer. And that's evidence that they got to let in. Now, if they're not letting it in, that's the corruption, right? So that's something we can't help. But I want to pose these things, which is really what I really want to do, is have a trial like that where I can show them these things, and it's going to be in a contempt hearing for me.
Yeah,
I've said this this is no secret. I no longer want to have anything. She's not at fault. She's not at fault. I love her. I want us all to get. I want a family to get better. And this is the way to do it. I believe it's the only way to do it, because adversarialness in that courtroom is going to wreck it all. And these lawyers are screwing it up for me, because I went in this last hearing, and that's exactly what I asked for. I said, listen, let's start a new. Let's just have a non-adversarial place where we all come together and we make things better for these kids. And the judge said no.
Of course they said no, because it's business for them. This is a for-profit business. They don't give a fuck about you or your kids or your ex. They care about their pockets, and that's it. And that's how 99% of America operates. So you need to play just as dirty as they do. They're playing dirty. They're violating your rights. They're violating your kids' rights. They're destroying your relationship with your kids. And after a certain point, the kids are going to be adults, and they're going to be resentful and have more problems not understanding all these things. And so it's like, I went through this with my own family. Like and I'm noticing some of those same covert things you mentioned with my 10-year-old. Mm-hmm. Like, she has her own phone, and her father said to her, I'll text him and say, like, oh, why I want to talk to her. Like, she's not talking to me. You should be encouraging her to call me every day. And he's like, oh, I gave her a phone. She can decide if she wants to talk to you or not. And so
it's observation right there.
Yeah, it's totally up to her. And then half the time she will go days without answering me. I'll text her every day, every morning. Good morning. I'll call her FaceTime. doesn't answer, or like she'll answer and she'll be like, oh, I have to go now. And I'm like, what do you mean you have to go now? And like, it's like, you can tell, like, if he's standing next to her and she's saying that, he's not saying like, oh, talk to your mother. Like, he's not encouraging it. And, if she'll be like, oh, I have to go, I'm playing a game with daddy. And it's like, okay, well, you can play your game later. Like, I haven't been able to talk to you. And, so like, I feel like that's where, like, versus my other one where her dad literally controls whether I can talk to her or not. She would do anything to talk to me and he won't allow it. He won't answer the phone, not in Family Wizard, not anything. And so it's like deliberately refusing versus the other way where it's harder to prove and it's harder to show that to a court. But again,
so could you do it? So, yeah, it's how do we bring this to some other? It's like almost like you need to completely demolish what we have and start over.
Like, you need to be in a system where it's fair. Like, if the rules apply and the laws apply to everybody,
not a stereo system.
And like what you were saying, like having all these expert witnesses and stuff like that, that costs a lot of money. Like, I worked at lawyers' offices where they said to get one doctor to come to court for one day, it's like $8,000.
Yep. So at Hope and Darkness, we're kind of, so the number one thing is, well, they show you how to get. We're disabled. We're all going to be disabled going into this. This is the way I kind of look at it, right? We are just like, I hate to think of myself. So I have dyslexia. I have a learning disability. I've always had, and I hate being a victim. God, I hate being a victim. But boy, you got to play that game, right? So getting those ADA accommodations was a hurdle for me. Very hard for me personally. Like, I didn't want to do that. I don't want to say I'm less than. I want to beat. I want to beat them on their turf. That's kind of what I wanted to do, and that ain't happening. So everybody needs to not be going into court. I think, number one, like for a regular hearing. So with that, now we can open up that. You can cut those costs a little bit. So if you're a part of a I don't know what do I want to say. A group of people that have a few doctors, that those few doctors work for those group of people. Now everybody's kind of paying for that. So yeah, there's a small amount to be a part of this group, and it's a small group right now, but our hope is that we'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll be able to utilize what we have at our fingertips to bring into court for experts, and it'll be a lot less than where it needs to be now. That's the only way that we can actually go toe to toe with these people, is to have an expert at a cost that's affordable. So how do we do that? Childress ain't going to do it. He's, unfortunately, I wish he would. I wish he would have a different change of heart. But everybody wants to cash in on their years of experience. But you go into those mental health fields, and by the way, mental health is all lying. All that, like, that's all lies. Like, somebody's saying that, like, it's just because somebody else found it objectionable. Like, we're all different human beings, and that doesn't mean, like, like, I would never say, okay, let's go into a corrupt court and let's get me a psych eval. Are you out of your mind? I would never agree to that, ever.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, any of these things that you're saying that you want to do, if you're planning on doing it in that same venue, it's going to be corrupt regardless. So it's like, that's why you got to go above that.
I'm talking about evidence that you can see. Nothing more, nothing less. Like, that's what it is.
I understand that, but like, it's like, you can have all the evidence. Like, when I went to court and I lost my daughter, I had all the evidence with me. She refused to look at it. She wouldn't look at it. So it's like, what good does it do? I e-filed it. I did all the right things procedurally. I had it with me. I had copies. She wouldn't even touch it, acknowledge it, nothing. So it's like, okay, what do you do then? You spend all this time and money, versus if you were in like federal court, they'll literally say to you like, okay, well, we're going to have this. It's like, it's more cut and dry. It's still
so that's next, making a federal lawsuit, right? And getting around Rooker-Feldman.
Well, the thing is, like, what you really need to do is to actually, like, file a formal criminal complaint, because what they're doing is a crime. They're violating your rights. If you read 18 USC 241 and 18 USC 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. And if somebody
I gave Mr. Ferguson one of those forms, by the way.
Okay, so if you do that, but then you show up again back at his courtroom, subjecting like yourself to his jurisdiction, it's like they're laughing at you. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, well, you're here. So it's like, you know, if you sent the color of law, you know, and you want to try removing the case to federal, and maybe ask for a Zoom hearing, because if you're asking for a Zoom hearing and just as a safety guard and you remove it to federal, you have some strong constitutional arguments about debtors' prisons and due process and equal protection and jurisdictional issues that you could raise.
Yeah,
and like I said, even if they deny it, then you can file an appeal to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals like Peter did with his lawsuit. And even if you lose there, you can still like people will be able to see that. It'll be part of the public record. It'll be case law. And there's groundbreaking cases all the time. If you really wanted to fight, your case could make a change in precedent.
And that's what it needs to do. That's what I'm hoping for. So like I didn't even think about that. That makes total sense. Like I gave him that. You're right. Something made me give him that. I came with a stack of them. I was going to hand them out to everybody because I'm sick of it. Like anybody that you know, that was my goal. I was going to give it to the clerk of the court because she stood my way more times than not.
But you need to call the FBI and write letters to Doge that Elon Musk has and tell them to audit child support enforcement.
The prison thing. It seems like that seems to get everybody's attention. Nobody likes that idea.
Well, yeah, and like they didn't
say, yeah.
They didn't specifically say that you're going to go to jail. It doesn't say like, oh, if you don't pay, you'll go to jail. It just says you're ordered to pay and that it's continued and that there's a possibility of jail.
Didn't it? Yeah. What did he write? Well, you should have heard what he said. I got to hear it. You got to hear what he said, though. Hearing what he said is completely different than this.
Also the fact that you have
he goes, I got enough evidence to throw him in jail right now.
Well, it said they appointed you a public defender, which that might also work against you because since now you have a public defender, they're not going to want you to file anything by yourself. And
well, I fired her already. So
okay.
I said, I don't need you. Well, she's like, oh, I'm going to still be here. I'm like, you didn't file an appearance, did you? Right? Like, she's not on there. She's nowhere. She's there. I didn't say anything. He did that himself. I sat there and I was just like,
you could deny it, but make sure you put it on the record. You have to, if you say nothing, they're going to assume it's appointed. You have to say like, I do not want this attorney. I'm going to represent myself and put it on the record. Unless you do want them. Because if you want to, if you talk to them, maybe they can help you. Maybe you can tell the lawyer, hey, work out the fact that she owes me from before and argue that for me. But
what does that do for all this stuff going forward? Like that's I think about that. I get it. It's my case and all that, but it's much bigger because it's got to stop with me. It stops with me. Like it stops with me. It's over. Like no more. Like,
I guess it's about if you really believe that you owe it or not, because you say that she
no, I don't owe it. I don't owe it by court order. I do owe it. Do I owe it? No. Morally,
has she even paid it? Has she even paid it yet?
No, she hasn't paid any of it. So that makes it doubly that she's actually telling them. She's actually telling them that correct. That I'm gonna and she wants me to pay her this money and she hasn't even paid it the third. So she's collecting for a third party.
How many other times did she tell you she had daycare expenses, but then in reality they didn't get paid and she just pocketed the money like she's trying to do here? And also you told me that she previously you paid 100% of daycare when the order said 50. So the court can honor that. The court has the power to say, okay, if the order was in effect that said 50% and you have proof that you paid 100% and she never paid you the 50, then you have proof of that. Therefore, you can ask the court to apply that as a credit towards this. And at the same time, you can dispute this and say, Your Honor,
I wrote that in all these objections and that they just denied.
Yeah, what did you say in this objection that they denied?
So I jumped. Well, so Amy is really like, we really kind of try to do this ourselves, and we're learning, So please, if you see anything, we do have fragile egos, and we hate to be wrong, but we understand when we're wrong, and we don't know it all. We
Wait,
can
hold on.
admit
Don't go so fast.
Sorry.
I'm just reading it really quick what you wrote. So you're saying that you're available to care for your daughter in the work hours, negating the need for third-party childcare, and a
Right.
withholding entity does not have a right to withhold anything more than child support according to the order. Okay, go down. You're saying case law, government pay directly supports. So you're saying they issued the order in 2024. She raised the issue of the unpaid childcare, and you explained that you had an inability to pay and offered to provide care. At that time, did you explain to them that she owed you money from before?
So that hasn't come up yet, because it's really a separate matter, right? Like, so
no, it's the same. It's all in. If it was ordered ever in this docket that she had to pay 50%, then
so the problem is once so it changed. Remember when I told you that they were gouging me on my child support? So now it changed to where I owe 30% and she owes 70% or something like that. That's a different change now.
At that time when you paid 100% of the bill, was it 50 then?
Yes, it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then whatever order was in effect at the time would apply to that. So
no, actually it was like 53-48 or something. Like, it's always off a little bit.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the point is that you paid 100 and you weren't supposed to. So
well,
she owes you.
She said that she had the same argument that I have, was that she was able to arrange for somebody else to pick up after school.
Okay, well
And
then that should be brought up, because if that's the same argument and she didn't pay and you're saying the same thing now, then either call it even and make right of first refusal, go back on the agreement like before, or give you a trial and then you can even put your ex on the stand. Do you know, anytime you're in court, if anybody is in the courtroom, even if they're sitting in the audience, as long as they're in the courtroom, you're allowed to call them as a witness, and you also get to cross-examine them after they testify. And when you cross-examine, you can ask leading questions. You can ask any kind of questions you want.
Right. What they let you.
So, yeah.
I tell you, I sometimes I sit back and I listen to my own, like, try to hear what they just stop you. They stop me anyways. And I couldn't get in. I couldn't get in. So what I did was I filed an affidavit one time with just everything I wanted to say. And
so wait, go down a little more. Yeah. Slower though. Let me just see what you wrote.
This kind of gives the background of the court. The court, they issued a memorandum on November 8th. So this was after I went back to court to try to get things right for child support. And then there was a couple things I did not bring her in on any contempt. But what I brought her in for was to modify to 50-50 for my kids. I want my kids to get some help because they need help. So I can kind of talk through it. Yeah.
Wait, so plaintiff included. Does it say that you guys have to agree on the school or daycare or camp?
Not anymore.
At the time, did it?
At the time of the first one, yes. This time, she wrote. Remember, that other attorney wrote everything into this, and boy, she set it up. I thought she was just leaving stuff out because there's a couple things she left out on that kind of affects her now, but there's also a ton in there. So we also came to the agreement that. So Amy got in a car accident. We were like on fumes. We go into this trial and my attorney goes, I need $5,000 to $10,000 to continue. All right, Megan, see you later. You're fired. I can't do that. That's what she wanted because she knew it was over once the GAL said what the GAL said. Alex Bazzone from the Children's Law Center is the number one culprit in this entire thing because the man talked to my psychologist that we went to, Dr. Schrager, saw what was going on with Sage, wrote it in his notes, and reported to the court a complete different things than that. That was the problem. So he's the cog in this. The moment I said to him, I saw him starting to do this. I said, Alex, are you in a romantic relationship with Michelle? Because it sure seems like it. That's the moment that he said, oh, guess what? You no longer have final decision-making for your daughter. I'm concerned about your mental health. No, I'm concerned about your mental health. Look what you wrote and look what you're saying. It's two different things. And I pushed back against him. And that was the end of, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. And then I was like, what can I do? Like, you're going to lie. You're a liar. You're a liar. I don't want to talk to you. You're a thief and a liar. And you just graduated from Quinnipiac University. So I get it. You're politically making this move. Like, you're not dumb. I see what you're doing. I'm calling it out and saying what it is. Be less overt. And, it came down to it. And then when it came down to the end, he never testified because I couldn't get anything in and they were hitting me with thousands of dollars and I had no money. So I got coerced into an agreement that I don't even really remember making, to be honest. I was kind of out of my mind. It was a lot that day. And that's what I brought back, was to open the judgment. And then they talked me into doing to modify that I could get some of the same stuff that I wanted in the modification. And to read the practice book and to read some things, yes, I could have. The judge didn't cooperate with that. She did fix the child support. I think she kind of had to, because it was that bad. Like, it went from no changes, right? There was no real significant changes in incomes anywhere. And it went from, I was paying $270 plus something in arrears that they figured out. The arrears was kind of, well, that's the problem with child. There's so much in this. It's crazy. It's like you almost get beat up with as many things as they throw at you. So the arrearage was not a real arrearage. It was a settlement amount, right? That I was paying $35 a month or $25 a month for. That's what the arrearage was. It was a settlement amount. Well, they brought it to child support enforcement, and child support enforcement treated it like an arrearage, and they took my taxes. And I was like, hang on. If you read the order, it says right here that it's to be paid in 35 weeks or whatever the weeks were, and that's what it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to take my money. It's you guys have to follow what the court order says. You can't go outside of it. And they went outside of it. So, which is where I was like, and it doesn't say anything about daycare that you guys are involved in this either. But yet here you are getting involved in it, bringing me to court, going to throw me in jail. How is that possible? You don't have an order.
What else did you say after this on this page? Can you go down a little more?
Yeah. Oh. Defendant's oldest daughter is 13. She doesn't require childcare, right? So her going to summer camps, that's not childcare. So I've taken a stance with my daughter. If you're not going to at least try to have a relationship with me, the only thing that I have as a father is that of leverage and love. It's not of leverage to get you to do what you want. I want basic respect. I want you to say hello to me. I want, like, she wouldn't have to do a whole hell of a lot for me to start contributing to her life, like financially. I've taken a stand as a father to say, honey, no. I know that's not a word that likes to be thrown around, but no, you can't. I can't fund travel basketball when you're telling me to go fuck myself. Sorry, that may make me a very strict father, but that's the stance I've taken with her, and I begged her to try once. Just try to push in and see what happens. Just see, and I guarantee you, if she tried and started having dinner with me like one night a week, things would be completely different. I would. Of course,
Maybe
just like a loving father, right?
Maybe you can try doing therapy, like a family therapy, to try to, like,
Mom won't do it.
Talk about
it. Mom won't do it. She will not allow it.
Tell the court.
She said it's been exhausting. I told Maureen, and she was like, no.
She said no.
I wanted to get her for a hockey season. That's what I said. I said, give me 3 months with her. Give me 3 months without mom, just me and Sage. My plan was to we're going to go on a vacation or something. It would just be me and her. We're going to figure this out. Just me and her. I don't care where we're at in school, what you're doing. This is more important because this is Sage at 26. Let's go figure it out. Let's go get right. Let's go. I don't know. What are you into, kid? Let's go follow a hockey team around or basketball, or WNBA team, and we'll just follow them around and we'll spend a bunch of money. We'll stay in hotels and we'll figure it out. And we'll get right. You know, like that's all I would need is I get her away from her. I can get her authentic self out. And, you know, it's like, why not? What's that going to hurt her? What do you guys think? What do you think I'm going to do? Ruin her for the rest of her life? I'm not kidnapping her. I'll gladly give her back if she keeps acting the way she acts, you know? It would take a hockey season. Like, really? Probably less. I bet you in a minute, like all this stuff is programmed into her, but she still has a connection with me. It's not gone. Put her into a situation put her into like a haunted house or something, and scare the crap out of her, like really scare the crap out of her. And I guarantee you, if I came walking in the door, guess who she's going to run for? She's not going to run away from me there, but that's what she's doing now. She's running away from me there. So why not? What's it worth? Because when she's 26 and she's starting to have all these relationship issues, whew, now what?
And there's no schedule with her at all?
None.
The court didn't give you a schedule?
That's what Alex did. That's because I asked him if he was having a relationship with Michelle. That became out of that. It was a retaliatory move that he removed everything. No, he actually wrote that down day one. And I'm like, Alex, are you out of your mind? Like, how can you do that? Like, why would you give a child that? Again, remember, he's a 26-year-old boy himself, just graduated from college. He took a class one time on parental alienation. That's what he told me. So, well, you're not really, but he was the influence of the whole thing because they were able to get to him. They had many conversations with him. I seen it because she wanted me to pay for all. They're so stupid. She wanted me to pay for all their lawyer bills, so she had to give me all their, like, when they met. And I was like, wait a second, Alex, you've had 4 meetings with these people? 4. Oh, I can't talk to their billing. It says right here that you were at their office 4 times having a meeting with them. How many times you had a meeting with me? You won't even answer my phone calls. You came to my house once. Like, what's going on here? That's when it went. That's when it went bad. I should have never said that, I guess.
It's crazy, but you know what? Like, I feel like the best thing that you could do is like speaking out and trying to get people to like come with you to court. And
why I'm okay with getting arrested. Then I have a voice. I'm different. Then I separate myself from people.
You go to jail and 50 people watch you go to jail, then maybe it might even, stir some feathers up versus if nobody watches it and nobody knows, then it's like hidden.
I'm a veteran. They're sending me to jail, like all that stuff. I'll utilize everything I had in my life to make me look different than somebody else going to jail for being a deadbeat dad. Like, whatever.
Yeah, and you don't have a lawyer and you have disabilities too. So it's like, what do they want from you? And people don't realize like all this trauma causes your disabilities to be exacerbated, and it makes it harder to concentrate and harder to like do all this. You're basically doing the same work a lawyer does by yourself and not getting paid for it. And
thank God I got Amy. And I got Amy. So if I am in jail, she's gonna be a rock star.
And also, now that you've spoken up and you've been on, other platforms speaking up, if you do go to jail, people are going to be looking to check if you went to jail, versus before, nobody would know. Some people are too scared to talk about it. They're ashamed. Like,
I've got all my friends tell me that I'm stupid. That's why I know I'm doing right. Like, it's funny, it's like everybody that, hey, I got the money for you, I'll pay it. It's like, I didn't say I wouldn't pay it. They're going to steal it from me. I'm never going to pay her. I will never give her any money towards this. They steal it from me. What am I going to do?
Yeah. It just seems like with the fact that 1, she didn't really pay the bill, and 2, she owes you from before. I think that those 2 things, you might be able to convince the magistrate to just to credit you for whatever she owes. Just come with all your receipts and everything. And, maybe ask for a Zoom hearing for disability accommodation, try to file to remove it to federal court, and If it doesn't
Yeah,
work,
I
then you can
yeah,
take,
I do think you're right. You know, I don't know what the right play is. You know, and
yeah. And like,
I'm asking God to show me. Like, there's no real like. 'Cause all I know is what I am doing is pausing, because I hear all these things. Right? It's like, okay, what do I do? What's right? And there's no force. Like, sometimes I get this like ungodly urge to have to file something. Right? Like, it's like file. You got to file something. I don't have that right now.
maybe you
Like,
should
I'm
try
not.
to just do more research and like, read up a little bit more about like removal and stuff like that, and just like read up more about too with like Title 4D and the child support federal laws about child support, and see if Connecticut's following it all, because they're not.
So that's what. Amy, are you here? Amy? No, she's not here. She left. So she's my rock star. She's really the brains behind a lot of
Did
this.
she help you write this? Because this is like really well written.
She's so she's actually starting her. So she is, if you look on Facebook, and she's kind of kept this. She's domestic violence by proxy exposed. That's Amy, and she's done quite a bit of. She helps. I'm not smart at this stuff. I understand. Sometimes us talking, we like kind of help each other with it, right? Like, it's weird. It's almost like we're meant to do this. Like, I'll let her, like, she'll be completely in the weeds on something and not understand it, and I'll bring something to it where she can kind of like understand it. But yeah, this is her. This is all her writing. I can't write. I'm in a without ChatGPT, I'm illiterate. Let's just say that. Like, I have a very hard time. I can't spell. Never been like ChatGPT has changed my world because it gave me a voice in the pen. I've never had that, and I've always talked. It's like it's so cool because I can articulate now what I in writing. And sometimes it goes overboard because I'm like a kid in a candy store too, because it's like, oh my God, I can say this word and I can spell it. Before I couldn't spell it, so it's like I would try to find something else and be like, and the ball ran across the street, something silly like that. But now it's like, oh my God, that sounds great. That's exactly what I wanted to say. And but she's really a lot of this, and it's crazy that we found each other. It really
Well, also,
is.
like, she can also be a witness too, and if she comes to court with you, you can call her as a witness, and if she's comfortable coming. And
She is. So she came that's the last time she's been. We kind of talked about that. We don't do well in that situation because I'll be very protective, and they'll see a bad side of me. So they and I see her getting upset, and so it's very hard to play out. She's coming to this next one, and like she said, she's gonna take a bunch of she's gonna drink a bunch of those. We've been living off of those things. Those are great. They kind of mellow you out, and they don't make you high. It's like, oh.
yeah, and if you get a Zoom hearing, it's good because then you can get way more court watchers.
Correct. That's the only thing I feel really compelled to do is so I'm having a hard time with so they're not giving me. I had to order. It's funny. I go in to look at their stuff here from the ADA office because I asked for both the transcript,
the audio
and
the transcript.
Right. I said, listen, my court date's in 2 weeks. Can you make some dispensation here? No, you said you had problems understanding auditory information. I was like, it's in 2 weeks.
So which one did they give you? Only the
Transcript. I don't tell them that that takes a while to get the transcript. Like,
they won't give you the audio.
I'll give you the audio, which I put in for it to get the. Oh wait, there's something in it. As you previously explained to. Audio doesn't work as an ADA accommodation for you.
Wait, what did it say?
Well, she just sent me an email.
She's saying she's denying you audio?
Because you experience significant difficulty processing auditory information, which I do. If I just hear it, but
what the fuck? That's so illegal. Oh my God. Under the ADA, they can't deny you that. They're not even allowed to pry into the information. Like, this is literally insane. They're discriminating against you. And if they give it to me, why can't they give it to you? Look, I'm going to show you this. Wait.
It says, if you would like now to seek audio recordings as an accommodation, please have a qualified licensed professional provide medical documentation subject to the judicial branch policy on medical documentation, which is attached here.
Yeah, and that bullshit policy that they just put into place in December or September that they're talking about is completely illegal. And they didn't used to have that, and somebody else I know got the same message. And if you look at the date, it says like policy on medical procedure, like the PDF is named like policy 2024 on medical thing. And it's illegal because, like, you know how we have 3 branches of government, and on the state level we have legislative, executive, and judicial. Well, these people fall under the judicial branch, but when they go and update their rules and policies and statutes and codes for the practice book overnight without having anybody vote on it, without having a bill get put into place, they're basically skirting around having to get the legislature to sign off on this stuff. And they changed the disability form like 4 times. And I had a lot to do with this because every time I would ask.
I'm going to send this to Rob Sampson right now because I talked to Rob and Chris Pools, my guys. They're good. They can't do it. I know that. But Chris is really good. I like Chris a lot. He actually will personally talk to me. Rob, not so much, but I like how he argues on the floor.
Look, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to start sharing. Can you see my screen?
I can. It's coming. Yes, Theodore and presenting. Yes. Okay. I see a small part of your screen. Let's see. Make this big. This is the one I want here. There it is. Yep, I see it.
Okay. I asked for all of my audio and PDF transcripts to be provided to me free of charge as an ADA disability accommodation for ADHD and PTSD. I did not ask for, they never asked me for a doctor's note or anything. And so they're not allowed to. And the way they process ADA is illegal. But you can see she created this OneDrive where it gives all of these court dates. So like if I click on it.
Yeah, I think they got pissed at you for putting shit online, right? Like they don't want that.
Yeah, but they can't. The only way that they can,
let's just be honest, that's what they're doing. They're trying to stop that from happening. They're trying to stop you from doing that.
Yeah, but they would have to then say, "Oh, we stalk you online. We watch what you're doing online." It definitely seems like there has been a lot of things escalating in your case. And when is your next court date?
So it's next Wednesday at 9 a.m., but truly it's at 10 because they don't start till 10. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
March 12th? Wednesday,
Correct.
March 12th?
So Wednesday, March 12th is when I go back to see the magistrate. And yeah, I'm humbly asking everybody to just come. You got to get off of work. Let me know.
Or what's afternoon?
That? So it's a morning.
What time is it?
So magistrate, so they say to be there at 9. So everybody comes at 9. They check in with, so I think about like how they do it. You check in with, well, this last time I went in there, they started like right at 9:30. But the time before, it didn't start till 10 a.m., which is when I think he comes out, is 10 a.m. So, if you could be there between 9:30 and 10, and then my guess is I'm going to be pretty early on in the docket because this is the 3rd time we've come back. So I'll probably be either 1 or 2. If it's going to go down that way, they throw me in jail. I'd love to have a lot of people there seeing this. And then get to their Facebook page, whatever social media they can, and just say, hey, they threw a veteran in jail for fraud. Like, it's all fraudulent. Like, she did not, she didn't pay for these. So it's all baloney and it's all orchestrated. Obviously, I don't have any damn proof of that. I wish I did, but I'm not. They don't privy me to that stuff. There's a ton of it, but there's a ton of circumstantial evidence saying that there's some fraud here. Yeah, I'd love to meet you too. Come say hi to me. I'm not. I don't bite people's heads off. I'm actually pretty nice sometimes. And come talk to me. Introduce yourself. Give me your card. Pass information, and that's how we're gonna get this fixed. Is we don't have a voice in there, so we have to have a voice outside. and don't
So
let them
as
stop.
of right now, it's going to be in person. And are you going to try to get it on Zoom to get more court watchers on there?
And on Zoom, I will. So I have a Facebook page. You can simply put in Johnny Conrad. You can go to my page, friend request me, or I can send it to you, and you can put it out on your to all your listeners and such. Please come. I got plenty of room. I pretty much just say, hey, everybody, come on and see. I don't care who it is. I'm an open book. I haven't done anything wrong, which is why I can stand in this. I really haven't, morally. And I mean, I told her I had time. Yes, our court order reads that any and all, that's what it says in there. They threw that in there. Any and all XYZ. But that doesn't circumvent my First Amendment able to speak and to have a choice. I don't think so. I still, these are my children. I'm fit. She's fit. Fit parents make decisions for their children together. Well, that's not going on right now. That clause that they gave her of final decision making, she's turned that into a sole custody type thing, and that can't happen.
And if that can be like, it can be construed into like that person having control over your access. And Connecticut Supreme Court already ruled that that was illegal and unconstitutional last year with Margaret Sullivan's case, RH versus MH, which was in the Connecticut Supreme Court, stating that it is illegal and unconstitutional for your adversarial party to be able to have control over your access to your children.
It's crazy. And then to really set me to like every other weekend and to hold it to that. And then and I know what she's doing. She's given my oldest, she's by herself, right? So she does what she wants. She's 14 now. Basically, she's an adult in everybody else's eyes. So they take her and she gives her to her mother, or she gives her to a friend rather than giving her to a father. And it's like, we have a great relationship. You should see me and Amelia. Like we're perfect. She's my buddy, and we do everything together, and man, I tell you, all this stuff really hampers my ability to parent her too, because I only got her for 2 days, and I know that I'm not going to speak to her. I can go 96 hours and not talk to her too, because she doesn't want to call me. And that's what Mom will say. Oh, she doesn't want to call me, and I'm making the decision, being that I have final decision making, that's okay today. She circumvents the whole thing into that thing to where it's all about control and power.
What you got to do is start up a Google Doc and every day document. Like,
I have that all in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On March 3rd, I tried to call and she refused me contact. Period.
Yeah. So I'm not able to call. She's the one that has to initiate the calls. That's
okay, then say she initiated no contact on such and such date. And every day it's going to say the same thing. She initiated no, and it's going to show a pattern after a while. That's what you need to just keep doing, is documenting and getting receipts, getting transcripts, getting everything, police reports, body camera footage, gather all of this stuff before they destroy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's time.
Thank you so much for coming on. And I have a lot of respect for you for fighting and not just giving in. And this is such a clear like abuse of power and corruption. And more parents have to keep speaking up. Men, women, even kids have spoken up. And I believe that people are going to keep speaking up, and we're not going to be quiet until something changes. And it'll start with us. And maybe our kids will look back one day and say, thank you, because we could pave the way for a better future for them when they're adults.
I totally agree with you. Thank you, though. The moment I saw you online, I knew that that we had to get together and do something, and I think it's finally coming together. So, let's stop with us. Like no more. We don't need this anymore. Like, and we don't need the adversarial system anymore. Period. Like, it's time.
Yeah.
Time to grow up, Connecticut.
Definitely.
Please.
And I'm going to keep sharing about your court date, March 12th. We'll tell people 9:00. Be there at the Meriden courthouse. If there's a Zoom hearing, you'll post it, and you post updates on Facebook, right?
Regularly, yeah. T-minus, I think I got 9 and a wake up until clink clink. I've never been arrested, so I'm kind of it's an experience in itself.
Look, you're not going to go to jail. Don't worry.
I'm
Don't say that.
willing, especially if they want to do something over something stupid. It's like it's just so dumb.
If they put you in jail, then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be outraged, and it's going to just put more public pressure and maybe launch more investigations, and that's really not what they want. So
that's the way it's got to be. That's the way it's got to be. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it. And thank God for my employer, by the way. He's been awesome. So really supportive through this whole thing. And I bust my butt when I can, and I get out there and I do my sales and get it done. But man, I tell you what, I couldn't have done that. The Ducks are in line for all of this. And there's something on the horizon that's going to change. And I feel it's coming. I know it is. That's why I choose to believe. So believe with me. Or make a difference.
Me too. And that's why we got to believe positive that everything is going to change soon. There's going to be a lot of good changes happening. So you just got to stay strong. And at the end of the day, this is psychological torture and abuse. It's mental abuse. And that's what their goal is, to break you. And when you torture somebody, the point of torture is to make them break. But when it's emotional, psychological, it's harder to see it.
It's funny because Dan, the guy that Amy was talking about, he's been in war. He's done that. He has that PTSD. He says this is 10 times worse.
Yeah.
It's like, I believe it. Because there's days that I can't even get up. So just can't stop thinking about these kids. And it's like, it's just not the way life's supposed to be. No way. And I
always tell people, like, try to find something for you too. Like it's okay to do something that's going to make you happy, because you have to also remember you're also a person and you have your own identity. And it's so easy to get caught up in this, like it never ends, but you have to also take care of yourself so you can be healthy enough to fight back.
It's funny because that's the last person I want to think about. I just don't. It's like I don't deserve that.
That's part of their plan. That's why it works. But
I'm part of the drone problem. I have a drone, and I'll fly the drone around. I'm just flying a drone to fly a drone. No other reason, because I think it's cool. And
stuff like that. Just hobbies.
Something. Yeah,
you fly in the drone. Next thing you know, like the CIA comes. Like
I know. So, all right, Theo. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Stay strong, and we'll be spreading your story everywhere.
You're the best. Thank you. Bye.
No problem. Bye.